First up, there are three candidates in this race. Only one of them has a positive rating with people. Bernie Sanders is here. Look at that. Bernie, you packed the house. Okay. All right. Oh. Bernie. Okay, all right. What is your tour bus like? I tell you that. So now you're in California, obviously, because the primary is coming up. This is the biggest state. I always say we should get a lot more representation in the Senate than we do.
You think that you should have more senators than Vermont?
Exactly. That's where I was going with that. But we'll leave that for another day. But what would it say to the Democratic establishment if you were to win, and the polls are about even now with you and Secretary Clinton, what would it say if you were to win in the biggest state?
I would think that it would say to the establishment that the people are sick and tired of establishment politics and economics, and they want real change in this country. And if we can, Bill, if we can win here in California, and I think we've got a good shot to do that, and if we can win in many of the other states that are coming up on June 7th, we will go into the Democratic convention with a great deal of momentum. That's what it says.
Well, I think you'll also go in with, after this email report came out this week, a little more than momentum. Now, you famously said in one of the first debates with Hillary Clinton, "Oh, I'm tired of hearing about the emails." And, you know, for a long time, I was tired of hearing about the emails. And I still don't think she committed some horrible crime. But that story has moved a little bit, has it not?
It has. But this is what I also think. There is enormous frustration on the part of the American people with the way we do politics in this country. And what most politicians do is say, "I'm great, you're terrible, vote for me, other guys the scum of the earth, blah, 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 blah." But you know what? People are hurting in this country. You know, our middle class is disappearing. We got a lot of poverty. We don't have health care for all people. People want us to talk about their lives and their issues and not just spend our whole lives attacking our opponents.
And we were... We were teased with something that was going to be an amazing show, I thought, earlier this week, which was a Bernie Sanders-Donald Trump debate. That was brooded about... What?
I would have loved.
Oh, I know. And
let me just say this.
And Mr. Macho chickened out.
Donald, that's what I was going to say. First he said he would do it. Then he said he wouldn't do it. Then he said he would do it. Then he said he wouldn't do it. So I would hope that if he changed his mind 4 times in 2 days, change it a 5th time. You know, Trump claims to be a real tough guy, pushes people around. Hey, Donald, come on up. Let's have a debate about the future of America.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us, and I count myself, who have supported you, even if you're not the nominee, we would like to see what a clear choice would look like. Now, I would like it in the election, but minus the election, I would at least like to see it in a debate. Because when you see the Republicans debate among themselves, which is all we've seen so far, they live in the bubble, okay, where global warming doesn't exist, and where President Obama doesn't exist.
Oh, he exists. He exists, and they have spent 8 years trying to obstruct everything that he has tried to do.
Right, but... Okay, so I think you have about 46% of the voted delegates at this point. Okay, right. So very, very close. But you are always in polls winning against Donald Trump, where Hillary Clinton now is either tied or losing. If those polls got to a point where Hillary was maybe 10 points behind Donald Trump, what I'm trying to get to is, what is the tipping point in your mind where delegates would actually go, oh, you know what? Because they want a winner.
They want a winner. Yes.
They want a winner, where they would say, you know what? We are backing the wrong horse.
Well, here's the weird thing about this process. 400 or more superdelegates actually supported Hillary Clinton, came out publicly before anybody else was in the race, before the first ballot was cast. And I think your point is a good point. A lot has happened since that point. And what every person at the Democratic Convention wants to do is to make sure that Donald Trump never becomes president of the United States of America. And I think, and I think your point is an interesting point. These delegates, even if they have supported Clinton from day one, they're going to have to take a hard look and say, look, if Bernie Sanders is beating Trump in many instances by double digits, not only in national polls, but in many state polls, I think we're 17 points ahead of them here in California. If that's true, and if there are states where Clinton is actually losing to Trump, where Bernie is winning, shouldn't we make sure that the Democratic nominee defeats Donald Trump? And that is the issue that they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, what I don't understand about this race is that on the Republican side, it seems to be okay to say, well, Donald Trump, as much as we may think he's a crazy person, well, that's...
And I do. I mean, let me just say this.
Oh, I do too.
I mean, this is not just I have a lot of Republican colleagues and friends who I disagree with. They're not crazy.
Right.
They're honest people.
Right.
This guy is a pathological liar.
Yes.
And again, I don't mean to be malicious, but that is just the damn truth.
Right.
And he would be a not only an embarrassment, a real danger to this entire world if he would have become president.
So, well, that's coming from someone he calls Crazy Bernie. So what? And I've been trying to get this answer out of everybody who comes on the show. What is the right strategy to run against Donald Trump? Because obviously Hillary Clinton doesn't have it. What would be your strategy?
That is a good question, and I would not be honest if I told you that I figured it out yet, because he is so unpredictable, because he lies all of the time, because he changes, no, not a joke.
Right.
Because he changes his mind all the time. What he said yesterday is no longer valid today. How do you deal with that?
And more importantly, he's not held accountable for that, as other politicians are.
Absolutely. That's just Donald Trump. He changed his mind 14 times in a day. So it is not easy. I think, for a start, probably one of the effective approaches against them is to really point out to what I think most Americans understand, is that we are proud, deep down, of our diversity. The fact that people come from all over the world, become Americans, and contribute to our country.
And some of them marry Donald Trump.
And I honestly think that the vast majority of the American people are not happy with these vicious attacks on Mexicans and Latinos and Muslims and women. That's one way I think you can make the case against them. The other thing also, he is primarily a showman. He is a very good manipulator of the media. But the truth is he has no ideas on public policy. And the ideas that he has are absurd. Giving hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the top 0.2%. It's not particularly good public policy.
But you know that if he runs against you, the big word is going to be socialism. And at the risk of annoying you, because I talked about this with you before, I'm going to take another run at this. Socialism. It's not a bad word to your crowd. It's so funny. There's such a generational divide in this election. The people under 40, next to Adderall, they love you the most. Because they don't even remember the Soviet Union. And capitalism has not really worked for them. And, you know, you are not a socialist in the sense that everything has to be socialist. You're like every other modern, intelligent country in this world, quasi-socialist. Capitalism works for most things, but some things should be off limits to the profit motive. Health care, prisons. I would say covering the elections themselves. So can't we just make that case that
Sure we can. Look, number one, I mean, the greed of Wall Street in corporate America is such that there is now a profound anger against the top 1/10 of 1% who appear to want it all and could care less about the middle class of this country. But the second point that you're making is that I think most Americans understand that in the year 2016, it is not a radical idea to say that public colleges and universities should be tuition-free, that the wealthy and large corporations should start paying their fair share of
The
taxes.
state universities used to be.
That's exactly right.
It's not like we're doing something that new.
No,
Yeah.
that's right. We're going back to where we were 50 years ago.
Right.
Is it a radical idea to say that the United States should join the rest of the industrialized world, every other country, and guarantee health care to all of our people as a right? I don't think so. Is it a radical idea to say that we should not have a corrupt campaign finance system in which billionaires buy elections? I don't think so. So your point is well taken. Look, entrepreneurship, et cetera, creates a lot of good things in this country and a lot of wealth. But the American people are entitled to know that they're going to have health care, education, decent housing. The basic needs of life should be there for all of our people.
Bernie Sanders, everybody. Bernie,
Thank you so much for always coming here.
appreciate it. Keep doing it, Bernie. Don't quit.